Welcome to everybody to the DRC session, Best Practice in Concept and Design. My name is Manuela. I manage the concept and design team here at nexxar, and I will be your host for the next 45 minutes. When we're talking about concept and design, this is normally always connected to talking about current trends. So what is in and what do the target groups like? And of course, if you're talking about digital design, what is really technically possible? Still, I don't want to talk about specific trends today. Instead, we have searched for reports that have, let's say that certain little something, like something new or something really clever, or maybe just something surprising. And that's exactly what we'll see in the next 30 minutes approximately. It's 10 inspiring ideas from 10 different annual reports. All those were published this year. And some are own ones and some, of course, reports from other agencies. So I would say we will start with the classic I'm sure you've heard already in a session yesterday. It's the integrated report of Clariant. Clariant has a real strong and bold own corporate design with black and white style and bold typography. And those are really very good conditions to merge it with a report motto. And this year, Clariant set the motto, "Here we go." And the visual concept about it was the radar system. So, of course, thinking of radar, there are certain colors and movement you naturally associate with this topic. For example, this greenish yellow, and of course, also the rotation movement. So both are the guiding thread through the whole report theme. The focus stories that are really a core element of this report are therefore positioned in one of those radar motifs, and they state clearly that all those points are on Clariant's strategic radar. Another place where this visual concept is directly used is if you click into the report and we go to the material topic, we will scroll down here until we see the materiality matrix. And there again, the radar motif is used as an interactive infographic. Again, here it shows very clearly that strategic points are on Clariant's radar and therefore supports the visual and the thematic topic and motto of the report. So, for example, if I click here on a topic of the advanced session, I find a quick link or a deep link directly in the management report. But if I click here on one of the topics of the focus area, for example, innovation and technological advantages, I get an additional link to one of the image stories. If I follow this link now, we see that the visual elements of the radar theme are repeated here. In the hero image, they use this rotation movement again for the shadow, and the color yellow, or this greenish yellow, is the connecting part of the headline, going down to some eye-catching elements like the maps there, and it's used, of course, in the big pictures. So through the whole report, you see that this visual elements, the color, the movement, the whole radar system is consistently used over the whole report to connect it together. A completely different example is Ferrovial's integrated report. Oops. So this one starts directly with a very, very strong key visual, and it's really a well-chosen one because the video in the background shows on first sight what the company is doing, and it transports the company's image perfectly. So I think you all know the saying that one picture is worth 100 words. And here you can definitely say one video is worth 1,000 pictures. Another thing that's really interesting in this report is the in 2 minutes section. I have it here in the navigation system on the left. And this is a kind of summary page that promises to give the most important content to read in 120 seconds. So if we scroll on this page, we see that here 8 topics are listed. Clicking of them shows us what it's about. And I have to admit, when I first clicked through it, I mistook this plus sign as the closing button, and I wanted to close this, and wow, found myself on a complete different page. But of course, I quickly recognized that I have dived deeper into this in 2 minutes section. And here you find the most important key figures for all these 8 sections. So we have big key figures, we have icons, we have as well here a video. Let's stop it there, because I think that those 4 minutes do not count toward the promised 2 minutes of the section. So every page of this in 2 minutes section is really sympathetically designed to give a nice and quick and also playful overview of the most important facts and figures of the segments. The only thing I'm missing here is if I want to know something more about one of the quick facts, I would like to dive deeper directly into the management report. So deep links would really help a little bit more here and there. But overall, this in 2 minutes section is really a nice idea for an online equivalent of a normally printed fact book, for example. Our next example here is definitely not about condensed quick facts, it's nearly the opposite. It's everything about extended storytelling. And the annual report of Covestro is definitely telling an interesting story. The report motto was set with the word beyond, and here it means we're going beyond the usual or going beyond the standard and just thinking ahead. And the guiding theme here, this beyond, is characterized by the reflection effect. So this singular line here gives a kind of horizon where we have the feeling of looking beyond, so giving the beyond again a visual element here. The bubbles, they were derived from the Covestro logo, and there are placeholders on the landing page for really different kinds of content, like we have here key figures, and it's also used to show the portraits of the members of the management. And scrolling further down, we have them used as well in the teasers for the 2 magazine stories. So if we follow the story beyond materials, deeper to the report, then we see that these stories are really presented in a very tangible and compelling way, because this multimedia-based interactive storytelling and the gamification elements really engage the user to interact with elements and to get a better grip on the content, let's say it like that. So, for example, this interactive infographic here supports the report motto. In clicking there, you can look beyond this 3D model of the future car and to see what Covestro is really doing to develop the future car. If we scroll more down there, we can find another thing that helps to bind user and to, let's say, use the gamification trends to increase immersion. And those are the mini quizzes, so-called quickies. So if I choose one answer, I would guess it's maybe that one. Oh, correct. We see here that they really make the user interact with the content. So you have first read the question, of course, then think about the answer, then maybe you get a moment of surprise, and even maybe you find some facts that are worth sharing with others. Sharing is, by the way, a real good point here with Covestro. I am sure you heard in the session about push reporting already that with the release of the report, Covestro started a social media campaign under the hashtag stories behind numbers. And all those infographics and quizzes and videos that you've seen there are reused to create social media posts. And of course, also the financial press conference was broadcasted live on LinkedIn. So altogether, I would say Covestro is a great example how to do playful interactive storytelling and also for the smart use of social media assets to accompany a report. Now that we've seen really a lot of strong colors in Covestro's report, we take the next step when it comes to colorfulness, and we will have a look at the integrated report of BIG. This one has really just a few elements of those you typically know from an annual report, like there are, for example, text and tables. And instead, there is really an abundance of color, of graphics, and of animations. So all in all, this can be seen as a real untypical report. The use of the navigation has somehow, let's say, worked out first. Best is to check where we can click. So no, it's not the headline. It's surprisingly not this icon animation. We could click over there, but we not want to download the PDF now. So, if we do some scrolling, we see there is the main navigation. Good. If we think of who we are, what is probably sounds like a very classic content page, we follow this link and we figure out that classic is maybe not the right word for that. What we're seeing here, because also inside the report, we find running headlines, we find mini animations, we got big sliders with icons, a lot of space everywhere. We have some running logos and of course the CEO. Scrolling down there, we find some flip icons here. So I would say they're really taking the best and the most out of the gamification trend, and they're mixing it with a very strong grid and with bold colors. And each section has, of course, its own color. So if I click on the next one, which is lead, we see it's in bright yellow now. We have here on the right side additional navigation that helps us to scroll through the really long pages. So if we follow there, we go to the section. Unfortunately, the navigation is gone there, so we can go back to the top. It would have been good for usability if at least a condensed version of the site navigation would be here on the page to help us to navigate through it. But if we click through the report, each of the pages, we can see small gadgets and icons and real big numbers and click graphics over and over. So altogether, for usability or structuring of a classic annual report, this big report is maybe not the best practice example, but you can definitely find inspiration from the absolutely consistent design concept and from the art of serving facts and figures in really exciting little appetizers. So much color there. The next example I want to show you has a completely different visual concept. I'm talking about the annual report of L'Oreal. So L'Oreal is the world's largest cosmetic company, is at home in the world of beauty and lifestyle. And so what would fit the company more naturally than giving the annual report the look and feel of a beauty magazine? The first interesting thing here is that alternative navigation system we find in the header. So we can switch here through different focus themes. Maybe a bit misleading here or a bit confusing here is that you don't recognize on the first sight that clicking through that alternative navigation changes here the whole content of the landing page. So for example, if I click here again on beauty, I got different contents. When we're scrolling down this landing page, it reveals a lot of teasers to editorial story pages and legal content as well, which is very good to give deep links in both the editorial and the legal pages. And now let's just follow one of the clicks. If I follow this link here, I again come in a wonderfully designed editorial page. I see here in the breadcrumb where exactly I've landed, but I can't see it in the menu there, so I have to search manually. Okay, this active cosmetics is under the menu topic brands. So if I go there, I know again where I am in the structure. So what would have been good here to increase usability would be maybe to have a better navigation markup so that I see where exactly I am. But overall, the story pages immediately convey this editorial feeling they wanted to achieve. It's the combination of a very strong grid here and big colorful teasers, big photos, and last but not least, it's also this serif font that automatically gives the feeling of being in a fashion magazine. So I would say they definitely know how to visually support the storytelling they do in these editorial pages. But what would be interesting now is how they handle this visual concept on pages where it's not editorial content, but really facts and figures. So we follow here the link to the L'Oreal in figures page, a classical key figures page. And here we see that L'Oreal manages to keep this magazine layout on this key figure page as well, which is really consequent and consistent. To achieve this, you definitely need a huge photo library. And because this magazine style can only be maintained if the layout is loosened up by as many photos as possible. So it's almost a tightrope walk here to not let the faces and photos appear more important than the facts and figures itself. I would say they have chosen a really clear concept to get a very special target group, because I have the feeling that this report will find its biggest fans maybe in the younger target groups, which is great. So what L'Oreal and our next example have in common is this lifestyle aspect, and I'm really sure you know this example here from former sessions. I will start it again now, the video. So yeah, I'm sure you've heard, let's start it again. Okay, so what I want to tell you today about Adidas, I'm sure you know already a lot about it, is why we came up with that look and feel. So in a brainstorming, we discussed what could be the motto for the next Adidas report. And we were doing mind maps, and we're collecting keywords like sport and competition, goal, winner, all those words that are fitting Adidas. And in doing so, we stumbled over the word sweat. And everyone was laughing. We were fantasizing about sweat-dripping key figures, pictures of sweaty T-shirts, and the CEO running a long-distance race. But funny enough, we decided, okay, let's give it a chance as a working title and see how it develops. And in the next association chain, we started around this word sweat. We recognized that somehow sweating is the link between the effort and the goal. And this was then the story we wanted to tell visually, that Adidas is giving everything to reach its goals. And this will to take the effort unites the company with the athletes it stands for. So to visually combine this idea of effort in goal in the concept, we used photos of athletes after a great effort, of course, sweating. And we combined it with this element of a finish line ribbon to symbolize the goal. And this ribbon is used overall the report, and you can place highlight text there. And as you see here, we used it in a zoomed in version where we placed key figures there. To complete this concept, we used a distortion effect here to make this look and feel less sleek and more, let's say, authentic. So, for example, if we follow here the link to the income statement, we can see that this roughness is the common thread through the whole report, through every page, because you can find it here, for example, in the bar charts, in the diagrams, and you find it in the white background of every page. You can find here some distortion elements. And that takes away this artificial cleanness of a white color scheme and gives the whole report a kind of, let's say, haptic feeling. So in my introduction for that one, I was talking about the CEO running long distance race. That's not what happened at the end then. But if we have a look on the CEO video,
2019 was a successful year for Adidas. We increased our sales in all markets and we strongly improved our profitability.
So here we see that the video style is focused on showing Mr. Rosted in a very authentic way. So there is no desk or no blue screen and no suit, of course. It's more having the feeling of having caught him on his way to somewhere and just talking to him. So I think that on the visual side, the Adidas report proves that legal information can absolutely handle a certain amount of roughness, of course, as long as it fits the company's identity. So for the next example, we decided to remain in Herzogenaurach and remain in the same industry. So not surprisingly, the next example you will see now is the annual report of Puma. And where Adidas counts on this rough appearance, Puma relies this year on very strong contrasts. They use the current dark mode trend, so having a black background with light font on it, and they combine it with very strong contrasts like here red and blue. Scrolling down there, you see that Puma attaches really much importance on storytelling. There's a lot of editorial content, and nearly all the deep links here, those are all deep links, are leading to a storytelling part, the magazine part of the report. So we have here the story of Usain Bolt, we have Fiona's story, we have something about heritage, and if we follow this link, we see that Puma uses this dark mode scheme for all the editorial and content pages, not just the landing page, and combines it there not just with normal blue and red elements, but also with duplex photos in those two strong colors. And that creates a much more emotional impact than the classic white background with black font. So if we have a look then not on another editorial page, but on a legal page, we will go to the combined management report and choose, for example, sales. There we see that in the management report, Puma switches the color scheme from this dark mode to a classical white background with black font. This is very good because it's proven that this color scheme is much easier to read in classical normal daylight conditions. So it's clearly recommended to use a light background if you have a certain amount of text. And yeah, to guarantee their readability and therefore also usability in an online report. They're still using, of course, the blue and the red elements also there to keep the report consistent despite this change of the background color scheme. A funny detail on the side, I'm sure you've recognized it already, is the individualized mouse cursor, which is a red dot here. And as soon as I go on something where I can hover, it's a ring, a real nice and playful idea, I think. Well, Puma leads us directly to my next example because they are the sponsors for their sports trips. And this is the annual report of Borussia Dortmund. The management of the BVB set the goal to create a report that is not only targeting the classic report users, because they wanted to use this annual report as a medium to communicate with their biggest shareholder group, and this is their fans. That, of course, clearly affects the concept and design, because it has to be, let's say, informational, as well as entertaining and overall emotional. And yeah, what is more emotional to a football fan than seeing their team and the CEO, of course, but to seeing their team and their colors. So it was sure that the color combination for this report has to be the main visual theme. And black with yellow, of course, it's strong and emotional on its own, because in color theory, black and yellow is an even stronger contrast than black and white is. So with this bold and big color blocks and the asymmetric elements and the bold fonts and of course the BVB videos and pictures in there, this landing page got emotional by itself. Of course, beneath all this information, an annual report has to present legally. There's one thing that must not be missing when addressing sport fans, and this is, of course, sporting actions. So this report has not a magazine part, but sporting highlights where fans can see how the last matches were with pictures and videos, and they can filter it here by competition as well. And another funny thing I want to show you in this report is if you go to the key figure comparison, a tool where you, of course, can compare facts like revenue or cash flow. If you want to know how many yellow cards Borussia Dortmund had in the last 5 fiscal years, we have just discovered it. So from sports to cars, my next example is the annual report of Volvo cars. So even if the background color there is not everyone's favorite, scrolling down here reveals a really well throughout story. So what's special here is how they manage to create different levels of hierarchy for the content, which is not that easy if the page is a one-pager. So for example, if I scroll down here, I come to the key figure section. There I have the possibility to switch through some key figures. But in an additional layer, I can get additional content, like for example here the key figure table, which maybe is on the second hierarchy of content because it's not that beautiful than the pure key figures within graphic. Another good example of bringing hierarchy to content is here in changing the scrolling direction. So here the trick comes from changing from vertical scrolling to horizontal scrolling, which automatically changes the hierarchy of the content. So scrolling down there, we find a lot of good ideas here. We have very nice micro animations. We have interactive infographics, of course. And something that is very special is what we will see now. It's the changing of the direction, the scrolling direction in the third dimension, because this automatically supports the immersive web experience, because you have the feeling of diving directly into that page. So scrolling this report goes on and on like this. It's really, well, let's say a real firework of good ideas and nice twists and professional implementation. But as long as I'm always looking for some room of optimization, I would say here that this one is really a journey to scroll, because it needs a lot of breadth and endurance to explore all of the content. So a side navigation, or at least a search navigation, would be helping people that just search for a specific kind of content or information. And besides, this one definitely wasn't a bargain. Well, here's then, last but not least, a very beautiful and detail-loving one-pager. It's the report of Melitta. I just want to start this video there again because it's really beautiful. Like Ferrovial's report, Melitta starts with a video to give an invitation into its own world. And here the illustration style and the colors are the core of the visual concept. So scrolling down, there reveal a lot of interactive illustrations and videos to engage the user to dive even deeper into Melitta's world. So you see that the report is already quite bold in colors and typography and illustrations. So we didn't want to distract the user even more, and that's why we focused our design on small and smooth micro animations, micro interactions. For example, here, how this download button behaves, or also here in this interview section with the plus signs. Clicking one of those plus signs gives additional information about the people talking in the interview. If I then click on one of the interview questions, an additional layer opens where the contributions of the people talking there are shown in, like say, speech bubbles, message bubbles, like we know them from classical SMS or WhatsApp chats. So that gives the conversation a more native feeling. I will close that to get back to the main page. And when it comes to alternative navigation or alternative elements, this accordion solution is also a very good example, because this one has the modularity to handle different kinds of content that come from the printed report, like, for example, photos and text, of course. But additionally, it gives the possibility to host, of course, videos and other interactive elements, and yeah, links to different, here, Borussia Dortmund again, to other content from the Melitta world. Well, in the last section of this one-pager, they make an excursus and explain something about their printed version. and documented with a video. And here at the end, we have one of the mini quizzes again. So let's see how many recycled coffee to go cups are used in a Melitta Group annual report. Let's guess it's 10. So unfortunately not, it's 10 not the correct answer here. But well, it's the correct answer for our session because we've reached report number 10 and therefore idea number 10 now. I hope I didn't overstrain your patience too much, and I hope you maybe even found an inspiring element for your own next report. So yeah, that was it from my side. Let's see if there are any questions so far. So Dominika, have you read something?
Yes, Manu, we have some questions ready for you. So the first question is from Julia, and she's asking, are there any new trends this year?
Good question. There are definitely new trends this year. It is a good mixture between trends. We have such a quite long time already, like for example, bold typo or storytelling that are coming to a next level. And there are trends that, especially technically, are more new or complex. I'm not seeing those often, but I have the feeling that they will come in future, also in the reporting world. For example, individualized communication, like chatbots that help you finding your topic, or example. Like interactive 3D elements. This is a very big theme that's coming up now. We've seen it that much so far, but there are here and there a few websites that use it already. And the next step then is that the report pick it up and implement it in there. So yes, definitely, there are new trends.
Thank you. The next question is from Patrick, and he's asking, almost all examples you have shown work with animations and moving images. Is this a must-have today?
Real good question. Thank you for that. It's not a must-have because it depends on how companies handle their report presentation. So if it's like you just want to do something very, very, let's say, legal, then it's not necessary to do it. But if you want to attract your shareholders and your users, then I have to admit there is nearly no better way nowadays than to use animations and videos, because as I guess you've seen in the examples, those are the things that really drag users to have a longer look and to go more in detail and to, in best case, even interact with the content. And this is what keeps the people then staying on your page, on your report in that case.
The next question is from Marta, and she's asking, how much time do you usually need to develop a new report concept?
Wow, that's really a good question. I would say if you want a complete new concept for your report, you should start at least 6 months before publishing day, because it's really a work on it, and it's really has to be well thought through to find something that matches the company's identity, and of course, if you have a motto, all these things. So yeah, 6 months at least, because it's not just the designing, you then have to program it and all this, but the sooner the better.
The next question is a little bit longer. She comes from Nikki. The question is, in initial conceptualization, are these mood boards and ideas done in a flat, static design to workshop and get feedback before taken into a digital layout?
I hope I understood the question right now. My answer and how I understood it would be, if you're doing a big concept, we start with mood boards, yes. There are the classical ways of doing a mood board on your own and just share it afterwards with other designers, with art directors, with the client, of course. But currently we're using tools where more people can work together to create some kind of information and inspirational collection, where then the mood board develops out of it. And as soon as the mood board is done and discussed with the client and it's clear what design direction or concept direction we will follow, then we start to implement it in the digital design tools and work on it then. So I hope this covers the question. If not, please specify.
The next question is from Anonymous. Thanks for sharing these examples, Manuela. Which one of them do you personally like best?
Oh, that's a hard question. Why I showed 10 out of it was because in each of them is a piece that I really, really, really like. But if I have to say the whole report as its whole concept altogether, I have to admit it's the Adidas report.
Fair enough. Another question is from Brad, and he's asking, are all these examples reports responsive? Are all these example reports responsive, or are they best viewed on desktop?
Here I have to admit, when I'm talking about responsiveness, I can only guarantee for the ones that from nexxar. Those are all full responsive, so you can view it also on your mobile or on a tablet. The other ones are mostly full responsive, whereas here and there, of course, there can be a reduction of functionality. What would be the best medium to look at an annual report overall is hard to answer, because it depends on what you're looking for.
Thank you. The next question is from Nikki, who had the long question before.
Okay.
I think this applies to your response that you didn't maybe cover. He replies perfect, so probably you have covered everything. And he has an additional question. What design tools do you use?
What design tools do we use? So our designers are working out the screens for the reports in Sketch and in XD. We are working as well with Figma. I don't know if I'm allowed to make product an advertisement here, but I guess so. For this collaboration tool for mood boards, Miro is in use here. And of course, we use pencil and paper to just sketch things on. That's basically it. If it comes to doing graphics like bar charts and those things, we're working with Illustrator.
Another question is from Isa. Do you also see social media influencing website design? Example, filters, emojis, etc.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I think that in a world where the use of internet pages, I think in another session we heard about 50% of the pages are used on mobile. This influences a lot how we do website design, so that it works on all device sizes. And on the other hand, also what we're using normally is influencing how we want to use things. So if you're used to using filters and tags and all the things from your daily social media use, you naturally want to use things like that as well on the other pages you use. And their report is no exception, I guess.
Thank you, Manu. I think this was our last question.
Okay, so yes, I want to close this question with a little quote. where is it? So, oops, yeah, that's me. The little quote is, big things are only small things that stand out. So in this sense, I hope you've seen that giving your report that certain little something doesn't have to be a big deal at all. So thank you everyone for attending. Maybe let's see what's next on the DRC agenda. It's the recap and learnings, and it will start in approximately in straight 15 minutes at 2 p.m. Bye, everyone.